Good evening, Bula Vinaka and Namaste. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk, our first one for this year, and we are here at the office of the Prime Minister. We're grateful for the access that has been provided by the Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Sitiveni Rabuka, for us to come to his office for this special interview on the look forward, the look back, and how things are going. And later on also we will be traveling to his official residence and having another segment as the final segment there. Honourable Prime Minister, thank you very much for your invitation, and we're grateful that we are here today.
Thank you very much, Vijay. Bula Vinaka Vijay.
Now, Prime Minister, we have a lot of issues that have come through. You would know that you also have said publicly that as a government you cannot please everyone. There's issues that will come up. You are a seasoned politician. You've been a Prime Minister until 1999, from around 1992. And then, of course, coming back and a comeback in the 2022 general elections, which culminated with you elected as the Prime Minister on Christmas Eve when that special Parliament sitting took place. Mr. Prime Minister, what is your view on how the coalition government has performed in the first 2 years? What has been the major challenges and the successes?
The major challenges, Vijay, would be satisfying our voters on the promises of the party's manifesto. I say parties in its plural form because each of the three parties had made promises. What must be understood, and I hope that our voters will understand this very well, we've been trying to impress upon them that we are mindful of our manifesto, individual party manifesto. But in the interest of coalition governance, we must try and bring the manifesto together into a mix of policies that will benefit the people of Fiji. When we do that, some of our extremist members of the parties may not agree, may not like the compromise that we have made to satisfy the group demand for the nation. And we will always have that. Every party has extreme left and extreme right elements. We have to maneuver very carefully and try and keep everybody on board of the boats, the three boats we're now paddling, and make sure that they're all traveling in harmony, in the same direction, and safely.
At times you've had stormy waters in the first 2 years when a party like SODELPA, your coalition partner, did not agree. The management board came out very strongly with some of the announcements that you had made.
Yes, they must understand that the coalition agreement was their agreement, which they demanded the other two parties to agree with. If you read the coalition agreement, they were all the conditions laid down by SODELPA. People's Alliance and the National Federation Party just went along because we both knew that we needed the three votes to get over the threshold, majority threshold. We had 21. We have 21 from People's Alliance and 5 from National Federation Party. The same number as one party, the Fiji First Party, held on the other side. So the kingmakers, so to speak, were the SODELPA, and they were calling the shots then, and we went along with them in the interest of getting away from the 16 years of Bainimarama Kayum rule. We felt, all right, let us go along and form a grand coalition of three parties by agreeing to the draft that has been written for us by the SODELPA.
We'll talk a bit more about that later on in the program. How difficult is it to be in this position? You've come back now 2 years. You were in this office back in 1999 and lost the elections in 1999. What's different between back then and when you left office back then and now?
At that time, I had secured the prime ministership, or in 1992, I had secured the prime ministership on the assurance of support from the Fiji Labour Party, when there were two apparent candidates from SVT. There were two candidates from SVT to be sworn in, with some support from the GBP. So the president had to be sure, Ratu Sir Penayangan Lau had to be sure that the candidate nominated for prime ministership would command the majority of the members of parliament. And in that case, with the numbers we had, split as they were with Joe Kamikamida, the late Cheswata Kamikamida, we had to convince His Excellency, the President then, the late Ratu Sir Penayangan Lau, that we had the support of the majority. And the majority support that we boasted, or we took up to His Excellency, was the support from the Fiji Labour Party under Mr. Mahendra Chaudhry.
And of course, then you had the eventual snap election in 1994.
In 1994 was when
your budget was defeated.
And it was defeated by the majority of the members of the House, mostly the consolidated opposition of the National Federation Party and Fiji Labour Party, and the Nationalist Party, with some of the SVT GBP coalition. So it was a straightforward, on the floor loss in votes.
From your perspective, with your age, there were a lot of doubts when it was announced you were making a comeback, and your years in leadership. Can you lose interest in what matters most because you've been in the position for a number of years?
Did you ask whether I can lose interest?
Yeah.
Yes, you can lose interest if you do not have an overall vision for what you are trying to do for Fiji. I once told a story about a monk and trainee monks who were out in the desert, and one of the trainees came to him, the main teaching monk, and he said, "Sir, my intake have all gone. I'm the only one left. Do you think I should also go?" And the old monk said to him, didn't respond for some time, and then he asked again, "Sir, I was asking you a question." And without answering the question, the monk went and told him a story. "I was sitting here one afternoon when I heard my dog barking. Then they came out around that tree, and I saw him, and there was a rabbit in front of him. He was chasing a rabbit. And they went all the way and crossed that stream. See that far away stream up there? They crossed the stream, went to the other side, and I could hear my dog barking and the rabbit in front. They went up the hill and down the back. And they probably crossed that other stream behind that river. After a while, I couldn't hear my dog barking. And it was as the sun was going down, I saw my dog coming back. Oh, in the meantime, other dogs in the area had come and followed my dog. and they heard the barking, and they all went following my dog. One by one, the dogs started returning, and after dark, my dog came back with a rabbit. And the young monk said, "What has that got to do with my question?" The monk said, "My dog was the only dog that saw the rabbit. All the other dogs heard my dog. Some saw my dog, and they followed my dog. They didn't know what my dog was following. My dog knew and was following a rabbit." And he kept going until he caught the rabbit. A lot of people would lose sight of objectives if they don't have a clear description of the objective they are following. Fiji right now is in the middle of the Pacific while we are promoting Ocean of Peace. There are many countries in the region, our neighbors, are being rattled by internal machinations of the forces of politics, etc. Prime Minister of Tonga resigned a few weeks ago. Our relief team that went to Vanuatu had the problems because they were going in during a caretaker government. We are having problems in New Caledonia. The Solomons has been unstable. There are many countries in the Pacific that are having jolts in their leadership and democratic journeys. So for me to come back and refocus needs a lot of soul searching, a lot of determination, and also a reassessment. Why did I set off in the first place? What was I chasing? Is it still out there? And my coming back should show that I'm still after something.
What are you after?
I'm after the reset of Fiji. I'm after a Fiji where Fijian people are comfortable with what they have. And when you look at the history of the country, tribal chiefdom, Christianity, you all became Christians. So that started dropping off the little tribes, and it started communing together and coming together, forming bigger alliances. And then the British came, and tribal warring and warmongering and fighting stopped. Cannibalism had stopped when the Christians came, Christian missionaries came. Then there was an offer for a government, a unifying government. And all the chiefs said, well, perhaps that's a better one than trying to fight each other, kill each other. And they agreed. They agreed to cede their islands under the sovereignty of Queen Victoria of England. So they became a colony, a British colony. The rules and everything was British. They were ruled as a British colony, and at the end of the World War II, many of the colonies around the world, some agitated, some just negotiated with the colonial powers in Europe. They had also been broken up by the war to try and get their independence. We had islands in the Pacific that were broken up. New Caledonia was a French territory. Vanuatu was French-British or Anglo-Frank or Franco-Anglican or Franco-Anglo. So those came together and were formed into countries or colonies or protectorates. The Solomon Islands became the BSIP, British Solomon Islands Protectorate, after the First World War, and then became a colony after that. So all these things, East and West Samoa, and the German, the other one, when they broke away after the war, they became American Samoa and Western Samoa, now Samoa and American Samoa. So people seem to be trying to find what system of government do they need, and who is Fijian, who is Samoan, who is Tongan, who is Vanuatuan. When you have Ni Vanuatu, what about the others? For Fiji, those events in our history form the basis of who a Fijian is. The tribes and the islanders who came, Polynesians and Micronesians, they were part of the Fiji group, population. And then the missionaries came, and we all became Christians. And then we all became members of a British colony. Then we had the independent. When we became a colony, we had all those Europeans, Chinese, early Chinese, islanders and indentured laborers coming in. We formed the Fiji that was strong enough to get independence in 1970. Then we became independent, an independent country under the realm, still under British systems of laws. Judicial system was basically Fijian, British. Everything else was basically English. And then now we have the Council of Chiefs, and there have been some pronouncements made by the Council of Chiefs, which made other ethnic groups perhaps uncomfortable. So we have to make sure, the government has to make sure that while we pursue those policies that may be good for the Itoke population, it could create fear in the others. Fiji must now understand that it is responsible for all these people who have made Fiji what it is. And in 2027, we could be having a census. And when we look at the population growth graphs of the Itoke, pretty flat. Indo-Fijians, pretty flat. Others, very marked gradient because of the naturalization. New Fijians being naturalized through the processes of immigration policies. We have to be very sure that we still are in a manageable population mix as we move forward. And our laws and systems and policies must be enough to adequately address the various and varying and complex requirements of the other ethnicities in Fiji, and not be subject to the machinations of all those little different things pulling their own way and resulting in suddenly finding the Prime Minister suddenly finding himself in an untenable position and having the political upheavals that we have had in the Pacific in the recent past.
We'll touch further on race relations a bit more, but some people are saying, Mr. Prime Minister, that your coalition government also has come with a lot of drama. We've had some of the examples that have been given that continues to appear in the media, the Linda Tambuya issue, the Siromi Turanga, Barbara Malimali appointment, the DPP saga which continues. The people are saying that all this doesn't affect their day-to-day issues that they are affected by. That we see the government is embroiled in a lot of this kind of situation. As the Prime Minister, how are you dealing with it?
At the moment, the way we are set up, we are linked to so many of those things and the values that are inculcated in those various schools of thoughts. So what we have to do is to find what is right for Fiji. At the moment, we are trying to satisfy the UN gender equations and balancing policies they have. We're trying to do this in the proper justice system, and we've set up our various commissions and so on, and we try and make sure that we exercise our duty, administer the affairs of government in accordance with those rules and regulations that have already been set for us. We have not been able to create our own autochthonous rules. Autochthonous are those that grow out of the land. We're still getting there. It takes time. It'll take generations, not generations of politicians, but generations of people. When you finally realize that, look, we cannot keep looking to America, we can't keep looking to China, we can't keep looking to Australia and New Zealand. We have to make sure we know who we are, we know what our strengths are, our weaknesses are, what we need to work with the international community about and for, and what we can do on our own.
This drama and all these other issues, is it delaying that for you as the head of government?
No, I continue to take them as they come, and they are on the sideline. This Barbara Mali Mali issue is going on. This Isrami issue is going on. They will come to me when the COC sits, and that one when the COI completes its work. So yeah, I allow them to happen. They're happening. I'm focused on just leading the nation.
You have appointed more people to your cabinet now, positions from the opposition group of 9, and that increases the size, cost of cabinet. The issue has been raised. I know that you've said the Minister of Finance has said that it can withstand whatever is in the budget as far as the cost is concerned. We now have individual portfolios for policing, immigration and climate change. Why did you decide on this?
I found that I have been ministering for too long and prime ministering for not enough time. I've been bogged down with doing police work, bogged down between doing environmental work, bogged down doing immigration work in the recent past.
And spreading yourself thin?
Sorry?
Spreading yourself thin in the process
Yes.
as well?
And I have not been able to sit here and see what everybody is doing and then make sure that we all coordinated. I was too embroiled in my own portfolios and not time for leadership.
Is that changing now?
Very much, very quickly. In the last few days, I've noticed a big change.
You're going for your ministers more now on why things
No, I'm
have
just
not
telling
been
them,
done?
I'm sending them little notes on what has come to me, and they carry on.
In terms of you choosing the people to lead the country, there's some comments made. You know, I had also sent you some a press conference that people like Shamima Ali had. They said they chose the coalition government. They chose people like you to lead the country, and they didn't want people from the opposition who they removed as government to be part of government. What are your thoughts of that, that they are disappointed that you've brought them in? And what message do you have to send to the people? Is it that your coalition members could not handle some situations?
No, we have been able to handle most of the situations that have come up. In fact, the recent appointments will not have to handle any new situation that we had left on the sideline without being able to address. Everything we have tried to address, and they will just come and help us with addressing the same things we have been addressing. And the people who have come to us had mentioned right from the word go when they lost their leader and General Secretary by the application of the laws by the supervisor of election at the time. They lost their seats in Parliament, and eventually there were certain rules and regulations that they did not fully meet, which necessitated their deregistration, which is now being appealed by a member, and that process is ongoing. In the meantime, they are not a party, and those members have become independent members. This group of 9 and the other group of 16 or 16 plus, they are independent members of parliament, and if the public had been watching and listening, they would have noticed that they have been very reasonable in their contribution to the debates. They've been critical, but positively critical in the issues that are brought up by government. So I feel that most of those in the group of 9, and in fact some of those that are still left on the other side of the opposition, are very reasonable as far as Fiji is concerned. And when we get to the Fiji Truth and Reconciliation issues, we get to the constitutional review issues, I'm sure that we can get the numbers we require to get our 75% votes in the readings, first and second reading of the bill, and be able to agree on a setup of how we're going to review the Constitution before we go to the people.
Is this also a political move? Will they eventually join the People's Alliance?
I do not know. I will not. I'll cross that bridge or that river when I get to it, and
it'll be good for you.
It will be very good for me
because you have had the situation, as you said, some difficulties you faced currently.
Not in the we had some negative votes in the salary. We had some negative votes before from government, and at the very beginning, when we elected on the floor the Speaker and the Prime Minister, we didn't have the full 29 votes. We had 28 votes.
So in terms of the SODELPA leader, Seri Ranrondro, has said that they were not consulted. And we know that they held a position of kingmaker. Now with you having numbers going forward, do you see that the People's Alliance and NFP solidified as it was in 2022? And do you expect SODELPA to remain, or some situations may change?
I expect the SODELPA to remain. They have the 3 portfolios they asked for. They have a deputy prime minister, which they asked for. They have had a change of their their party leader, and I've asked them this week, tell me who you want to be the deputy prime minister, and I will change I'll move the party leader up to be deputy prime minister and ask the Honorable Rabuka to step down.
Step down from his portfolio, or step
down
from
the deputy prime ministership.
So in terms of what Mr. Ranrondro said, that they were not consulted, what is your comment on that?
That is correct. I didn't consult anybody. It's just taking the prerogative of the Prime Minister as far as the selection of cabinet ministers is concerned, as per the Constitution.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Oh my gosh! Oh, what's in the box?
You're probably wondering, what's in the box? Well, if you must know, it's actually me. Before you call the police, I'm actually an app. The all-new Fiji Village app. Here's an update. See what I did there? I gave you an update. What's new? Well, for starters, I look different. My new layout also comes with stories if you're looking for something short and sweet. I will bring you the latest news on the dot so you stay updated. You're welcome. You don't have to go anywhere for content because I bring the content to you. Not only can you listen to your favorite radio stations, you can also watch online video content. Which reminds me, do you love sports? Well, guess what? With the Fiji Village app, you can stay up to date with your favorite sports and scoreboards, no matter where you are. Your #1 news website just got better with an app. Download and get updated now.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We are here at the office of the Prime Minister speaking to the Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Sitiveni Rabuka. Mr. Rabuka, let's look at some critical issues on the ground. And I know you have been also doing your rounds. Recently you went to the CWM hospital unannounced. In terms of health, we have medicine supply issues, serious infrastructure issues. We have had some human resource issues as well. Very serious. It has affected the people on the ground. Some people say it is obvious. The government is not acting as efficiently and as effectively as it should. As a leader, what are you doing about it?
We can only act as far as the national wallet allows us to. We're losing a lot of trained manpower. Our professional people are going on to greener pastures abroad. We invest a lot of money in their education. And when we lose them, there is nothing really much we can do. What we can do is to increase their salaries. How much we can increase the salaries too depends on the budget, depends on our revenue. How much can we raise? Our ability to raise our revenue has been hampered for so long. Our agricultural product is not, our production is not very good. People need machines and new roads and all those things that all cost money. What I've tried to do now, or what we're trying to do is, in little groups, is to revive the village cooperatives. And we have found some people who are willing to buy from the farmers at farm gate and bring those to food processing in the bigger centers, or take them and export the raw material to their buyers in Australia and New Zealand. We can continue to do that and grow those. Then we can somehow grow the agro production. One way of growing the GDP, or only a very small part of growing the GDP. There is also our fishing and also the labor market. We have a big demand for workers. You find that when we have a big infrastructure development work coming in, the contractors, international contractors, come in with their laborers, and ours lose out. So we give the opportunity to those unemployed workers to look for employment in Australia and New Zealand, who offer better wages. But when they get there, we have to, at what cost? The cost for us is the loss of manpower and women power, disruption of families, disruption of the education of our young people, with reduced parental guidance. These are the social costs that are piled upon the financial costs of a small economy that cannot really grow its GDP better, because we are agro-based. We are an agro-based economy. We know that the sugar industry is declining. The demand for raw sugar is also declining. Our sugar infrastructure has been there ever since the colonial days. We need to do a lot of work in that, whether we have the money to be able to do it or not. So what we're doing now are small, targeted assistance to communities and farmers who can at least grow their own small productions and collectively get a bigger result. So alleviating poverty or eradicating poverty, one family, one village at a time.
Looking forward to that coming into fruition, as we have a lot of land available for that, Mr. Prime Minister. The issue about medicine supply, we did ask the Minister for Finance, Professor Biman Prasad. He says the money is there. Now the issue is in relation to the supply of medicine and when it comes in. There's a lot of medication that is not coming in on time, which is resulting in the delay. Something that affects the person on the ground. What's your message to the people?
I am also very concerned about that. There are groups of people who are responsible for the importation and the license of medicine, the sourcing of medicine, and also the selection of what to bring in. We find that eventually we have to condemn some medicine because their shelf life has run out. Some are still on the shelf after use-by dates, which means that we are buying cheaply when they're almost expiring at source. We need to really get down to doing that. I couldn't do it when I was doing all the other things I was doing. But going down that Saturday was, for me, the first step I've made to try and get down to the executive level in the various ministries. And I apologize to the Minister for Health, but he was on sick leave at the time in Sitiveni and couldn't come, and he didn't have an assistant minister. Now he has one. So when I want to go and visit another ministry, I will tell them, and then we'll go down together, or he can send his assistant minister, and we can go down to have a look at those. The lift in the CWM hospital is a big problem. I don't know whether he came up in the lift here or not, but there is only one of those two lifts that were built with the building that's working. Now, when that one doesn't work, then we all have to walk down and walk up. I tried walking yesterday. Can be done. More difficult when you are 76, but it can be done. So those are the things that I see when I leave the office and walk, just like an ordinary citizen, just to see. In hospital on Saturday, I went to look at the lift or the elevators, and also looked at the diabetes center that my neighbor, Mr. Diwan Chand, had been writing about. And that one needs to really be looked at. I understand the beginning of the center, when my late friend Diwan Maharaj of Quality Print started a group to tackle diabetes, and so they put up that diabetes center, an old colonial building that was already run down at the time. They put on some minor beautification and repairs, and it was working. But it's not up to what is required to be a diabetes center with proper facilities for men and women, and also the toilets don't have any wash basin, as he was talking about. I went and looked at it. He was right. The security people were very good. The security people were very alert. When I went to CWM, I walked in, it was raining, so I put a cap on the car. It came out, the first thing the security man said, no caps allowed. So I took mine out, and then he told me, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Obeyed your orders, no cap. Where are the lifts? He showed me all the lifts that were not working.
You would have seen the video of the critically ill patient being taken down the stairs,
down the steps.
Mr. Prime Minister.
Yeah.
One is walking down and up the stairs, there's one issue. One is carrying someone who's critically ill. I know that you have looked into it. Now, the people would be asking, now that the Prime Minister does not have as many portfolios and is zooming into issues, how quickly will these health issues be addressed?
The problem with the lift is that it's got a lead time of 53 weeks. When you find that a lift needs to be repaired, it'll be put out of service for 53 weeks. That is 1 year and a bit, 1 year and 1 week. So it's very, very unacceptable. And those, I saw that wing, which was opened by the Honorable Usamate in 2015. 10 years now, 10 years in October this year. And already the lifts are not working.
What will you do about it?
We can speed it up. We can make sure we fit in a new one and just ask the suppliers to telescope in the lead time and quicken up. Just get one working, at least one in each wing working, and do the rest according to the supply and logistics program.
As Prime Minister, of course, the other issue is about the working of your cabinet, the efficiency. Do you have a key performance indicator system for your cabinet ministers on what they have to achieve year after year?
We have a list. In fact, we have so many lists. The objectives are already given. They have their mission statements and vision statements, and I can easily call those up and look and see where we are, whether we are going to achieve what we have to achieve in the year or not. And we look at the legislative program that we give the Speaker or the President to read at the opening of each session. We've had 2 sessions, the third one starting next month, in March, in fact, opening end of February and starting the debate in March. When we get there, I'm asking the ministers, look at what we said we would do last year, what did we not do, what are we doing this year, and achievable targets. And I'm drawing their attention to the Blue Book, that is the budget book. What did we say we would do? What did we allocate to do what? And just check with the Blue Book at the end of the year whether we are getting there. Now we're halfway through. They should now have a very good indication of how much of that budget they have used now that we are halfway through.
What happens if they're not moving?
They're not moving, they're moving.
Moving out. That's your message, a clear
Yes.
message to them?
Yes.
Irrespective of who they are?
Irrespective of who they are.
You're not trying to balance the weight here to make sure that you keep your coalition happy?
No. If they're not moving, they're not moving. Or they're moving out. I have a job to do. And they have to do it with me.
We have spent billions of dollars, even before your time, as government on roads. Billions of dollars. Yet we continue to see potholes appearing everywhere within weeks. How are the contractors being held accountable for the poor workmanship? Are they using substandard material? And who is monitoring this?
That's supposed to be monitored by the ministry. All the contractors who are coming in have got specifications for the things, the materials they use. Whether we have work audit and materials audit going on continuously and simultaneously, I do not know. That will have to be given to me by the ministers. But if they tell me everything is going well, and then we see those potholes come up, I call them one rain patch up. They patch it up, one rain later, we're patching up
You
again.
agree that's a problem? And there's more money going. Because I ask because you talked about the national purse. We only have so much money.
Correct.
And if the money is being drained out in these roads, which is opening up again within weeks, we have a big issue.
We have so many people that are trying to get away with cheap stuff. The contractors will go and look for suppliers. Those that certify that this is good metal for the roads. We have to make sure that they are good metal. Whether the people in headquarters who go out and look at the metal source, this is good metal for this, and the bitumen supply we're getting is the right size, right source and right mix for our roads, considering the amount of rainfall we get in a year, and you look at the sustainable level of that road. How much rain will it take? Over how many weeks before it's due for routine maintenance?
Education is another issue. You've raised the issue about the pass rate, proposal to scrap the repeat policy. Many are saying this is a move in the right direction, as they say, why should taxpayers' money be used to fund students that continue to fail, that they should repeat and better their results and continue from there onwards or other opportunities. Others are saying it will breach certain international conventions that we have signed, and education is for every child. What are your thoughts on that?
We have provided education for every child until the child has proven themselves incapable of continuing the education.
So your thinking is that that system that is currently being reviewed of a child continuing to move forward even after they fail is failing at the end anyway?
Yes. When you look at my generation, those that so-called failed at the examination age, they are now very successful community leaders in our village. So education did not stop. It stopped in school, but it continued in communities.
And there's other opportunities will be thought out here in terms of TVET, etc. I see that's coming
Yes.
back.
Yes. And when we started, we talked about this issue when I was Prime Minister, very early. It was 92 when we spoke about education. And the Minister for Education at the time brought up the question, what do we do with school dropouts? And we had a very long discussion because there were a lot of teachers in SVT, GBP at the time. After a long discussion, Philip Mbole realized that I hadn't said anything. So he said, Prime Minister, you haven't said anything. And he said, what are we talking about? We're talking about what do we do with dropouts? And I said, what are dropouts? Those that do not go on to tertiary education. I said, oh. I said, oh, what do you mean by oh? I said, what's your question? Your question, what do we do with them? And I said, we make them prime ministers.
You just have to get out of the formal education.
Get out
and
of
look for
formal
other
education and
opportunities.
continue education.
But you
The
need to
army, the police, there are many things out there that are capable of instilling education and discipline in the young people of Fiji. And they don't have to pass the exam.
But we need to have pathways in place before we go in that
Yes.
direction.
And they're there. We have so many people lining up for the army. Why? Because they want to go peacekeeping duties. The pay when you're on duty there is good. For them, that is it. What is the aim of education anyway?
In the Western sense or Fiji sense?
Well, in Fiji sense, now we have to look at that. To be a productive member of the community, wherever you are. And I quoted my generation of my education generation. I come away and end up being prime minister. Those who are in the villages, I come back and I sit there and I watch them and I listen to them as they gave us advice on what to do to make the village grow.
Drugs and crime are a major concern. What is being done to cut that drug supply? The question was asked about drug kingpins still out there, still haven't been rounded up. Drug rehab center, there's talk about that, but when will that happen? And more young people getting into drugs.
Right. I've asked specifically the Minister for Policing and Drug Enforcement to look at that as a personal priority. The establishment of a drug rehabilitation center in the corrections establishment will go ahead very, very quickly. We've identified a former government quarters which will be used as the initial part for the cooperation between government, police, and Salvation Army, and use that as those on the streets and come and get counseling and get them away from their logistics lines.
What are you doing in relation to the rot in the police force? They're saying corruption is also making the drug trade thrive in Fiji.
Well, that's what the new Commissioner of Police and the new Minister of Police will have to sort out. I only hope and wish that those that are saying there is a rot will come up and say who is the rot and report that formally so that they can be investigated and disciplined.
There's water issues. You've had success with the Viria project completed on this side. Suvarnasori corridor, a lot of water was no longer there. You still have on the other side, Tamavua, Tadiroa, Sakotha, Khalsa area still having that issue. I believe there's a redundant line that is expected to come through Viria to address that issue. Is that part of the project?
That is part of the process. We are trying to use the urea intake to alleviate the supply out problem from that's servicing the Tamavua heights and areas. The excess capacity coming out of urea can be used for that. The other issue is the seepage and leakage. The old pipes are very easily damaged, and they probably beyond their use by dates anyway. So we'll have to remove the major pipelines that supply the major areas of the Suva municipality and corridors to the Navua and Nosori. We'll get there. It's not something that you lay and forget. You must lay and continue to watch and repair and adjust as you go along.
And now with less portfolios, you'll be watching that carefully?
I will.
Some timeline set for the Minister for Infrastructure?
The Minister for Infrastructure has got to do the corporatization of Water Authority of Fiji. WAF has to be corporatized. And when it's corporatized, people will be expected to pay a little more so that we have more money to put back into the infrastructure maintenance and development. So while we have the objective or the goal of the provision of potable water to the people, we also have to be aware that it costs government money.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan, and when we return, we'll be at the official residence of the Honourable Prime Minister. Welcome back. We are here at the official residence of the Honourable Prime Minister, and our last segment we will look at the Prime Minister's life. Of course, there's in the next few days on January 25th, the Prime Minister and his good wife Suluweti will be marking a major milestone, their 50th wedding anniversary. Now that is quite special, Mr. Prime Minister, 50 years of being married together and come this Saturday.
Yes, it's pretty tough for her as the wife of a man like me. It was very testing in the beginning, but now it is more of a caring relationship, because we understand the health difficulties we now have and the need to stay together for the children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. We have 5 great-grandchildren living here with us because the requirements of the employment of the granddaughters' husbands. Granddaughters live here. They cannot live anywhere else. They are more comfortable here. Their grandmother is my daughter, who is divorced, and she lives here with us. So they are more comfortable living with their mother and grandmother than with anybody else. And that is a sad thing I've realized about Itoke Suba-based families. You don't have any other societal linkages that you can just fall back on. Like in the villages, it takes a village to raise a child. And if the parents are away in Suba, the child will be okay. So last night I was having dinner, I heard my mother's namesake crying. And I said, her mother is back working in Nandi in a hotel. Father was on duty in the naval base. So the granddaughter who was here had 3 children to look after. So she probably felt neglected. So she came and sat with me while I had dinner, late dinner. And they all relate very closely to my wife, to Sulu. And that keeps her happy and also continues the bonding as family.
There's always ups and downs in marriages. Your book, Rabuka, Fiji, there's certain misgivings from your part has been highlighted in that autobiography approved by you. How have you managed to, you've been in the spotlight, you continue to be in the spotlight, and those are the challenges and misgivings that may have affected you personally and your marriage as well?
Yes, they affected her more than me. She was always on the neglected side. And now that I'm in a better position to look after her, I'm trying to make sure that she has a pleasant era, that she enjoys this better. Because that will be, for me, it perhaps was love and then, childish infatuation. That's us in 75. At the wedding photo taken outside the RFMF chapel. So now it's more of loving and caring on my part. I have to make sure she ages gracefully, and I look after her to the best of my ability.
Any regrets?
Yes, no point in highlighting regrets. Regrets are regrets. You cannot improve, you cannot correct them. All you got to do is hopefully others will learn from them. You have learned from them, and hopefully others can. In my case, we have had to, there have been a lot of problems, not just man-woman problem. There have been societal and Itoke society problems. I don't know whether many people think about these things, because we moved from a generation of arranged marriages according to your tribal status, your chiefly status in the family, in the society. And then we suddenly find ourselves in a cosmopolitan setting where we come to the urban areas. And in here we just first name basis. Nobody's Ratu so-and-so and nobody's Andy so-and-so unless you are quite high up. And but then they know who they are and they know who their chiefs are. So when we started, I didn't know that there might have been some misgivings on their part about her marrying a common villager boy. Because I have no special status in the village. I'm just a member of Tokotoka. My father is the third in the hierarchy in the Tokotoka, and Tokotoka is number 2 in the Matangali, so we were right down the bottom. But the good thing is when you come out of that, you're no longer shackled to those restrictions. You come out and you were open. The world is your village, and you could do whatever you like with that village according to your desire to be successful in that big village. In the small village, you go back and you sit at the right side of the tanoa, at the right end of it. And in the lobo, you know where to go. In the when you're cutting copra, we know where to go. And coming to cutting copra, going to cutting copra in 2007, I was cutting copra with the people in the village. And somebody took a photo, and I said to them, keep that photograph. Does it have the date on it? Will it have the date? Yes, when it's printed, it'll have the date. All right, keep it. I said, why? Because I'm writing my autobiography, and it's based on the year sevens. 1957 was my last year here in this school. 1967, my last year at Queen Victoria School, head boy. 1977, my last year playing rugby for Fiji. 1987, coup. 1997, Constitution. 2007, here, cutting copra. And 2017, I was back campaigning, got into Parliament as a leader of the opposition. And 2027, it'll be after this first term. I could still be back in Parliament. Whether Prime Minister or not depends on the party and how well we do in 26.
So there have been a lot of marriage breakdowns in the country. There are a lot of neglect of children. More and more every day we see a lot of children on the streets. As leader of the nation, definitely based on what you've said about making sure we hold our values close, there seems to be a breakdown of that family structure. What can be done about it?
What can be done is just getting very close to our traditional connections. My village has been a very good village of when it comes to the number of broken marriages. Very, very few in my village have had broken marriages. One of the earlier ones was my father. My father divorced my mother. I was not married. I was in Hong Kong and serving in the British Army. When my father wrote to me and asked if I would ask my sisters if we can agree to allow him to divorce our mother. It had to be a logical and a practical decision on my part. My father was a district school teacher in the rural areas. My mother was blind from 1963 and could not accompany him in the rural areas where he was posted to. When I joined the army, he had just been posted to Wanganake here in Vitilevu, and from there to the approved school in Nasino. But he had to be looked after in the rural area, and my mother couldn't do that because she was blind. She was blind in 1963 when I was in Form 4 at Queen Victoria School. And I accepted that eventually my father would probably ask for that. So I wrote to my sisters. They were not very happy. And I said, I just do not want. Sorry, I was already engaged then. 1973, I was engaged. I came back and got married in January 75. But when we got married, regardless of what happened and what I did, I was committed that I was not going to allow my wife to go through what my mother went through. when she was blind and left to fend for herself. In fact, she didn't have to fend for herself because my relatives, particularly her relatives, and my relatives on the mother's side, were very, very accommodating. My momos, the loma lomas, and in fact, they carried the burden, the lion's share in the marriage, in the wedding in 1975. So I'm trying to do whatever I can to encourage the young couples, and also the not so young couples, at this time, to maintain our cultural value, or Fiji value of marriage and family. Because if we don't, even with the guidance and the strict upbringing we had in our time, we're seeing the breakups and the breakdowns now happening. So we must try and inculcate into our children and grandchildren the values of steady marriages.
So, home ownership, you raised the issue about home ownership. What are your comments on that, where couples are finding hard to get homes now?
They should not be finding it hard. Comparatively, my father and I borrowed $5,400 from Housing Authority in 1967-68. By that time, he had paid off the house from a Mr. Sharma who was living in Canada. We bought a lot in Rewasa. He bought a lot for 600 pounds, which is $1,200. And the product of Housing Authority at the time was borrow and build. So we borrowed another 5,400. We worked out what the cost of the material would be and borrowed 5,400. We mixed the cement. We built the bricks. We had a little machine that we mixed the cement and the concrete, put it in there, shut it, closed, and compacted it, and lifted the blocks and put them out in the sun. Coconut leaves over it to dry it. That was how we built our house. And 5,400, it's still there, number 39 Shalimar Street. My uncle was building his, 71 Shalimar Street. When my uncle and his wife died, their daughter decided to sell the house. She was married, living in England. I said, okay, I'll buy it. So I bought mine. When I came back from Lebanon, I paid off the loan on the house my father and I built in number 39. I asked him, Tata, will you give me the title? I can pay it off. You give me the title, I can use it, and then give it back to you. So he gave me the title. I used the title to leverage other borrowings and did up the house, then returned the title to him. And my sisters wanted to be part of the thing, so he put my sister's name in the title, and they became joint tenants. When he died, my sisters went and looked at the title and felt very bad, very guilty, because I was not on the title. So it was just them and our father. I said, don't worry. When you decide to sell, I can buy your shares. But home ownership is something that we must encourage people to do. Young couples, in fact, young men who are thinking of getting married should get as early as possible into trying to get a house for themselves. I'm asking Nalumisa to speed up and on the housing for the urban areas, and getting Wasarongo to see whatever land can be freed up. We had a problem at the end of last year when the Muslim League wanted to evict the informal settlers on their land. A lot of people jumped up and down and, no, that is right. They have every right to do that. And these people have been living there for how many years? They should know that there will come a time when they will have to move out. So when they had to move out, I asked for time and another chat with the Fiji Muslim League leadership. They were very accommodating. They gave them 1 year. And in the meantime, Nalumisa and Wasarongo And even Turang Garnivalu is now prepared to make available land for the housing of these those that are going to be removed. Right now we are grappling with the problem of Bindi estate in Nanuku settlement. They have been given the eviction notices, and people jump up and down, think, oh, this is wrong. No, no, it's not wrong. It is correct. They wrongly went in there to settle, but they must understand that there will come a time and they will have to move out and give way for the legitimate landowners to do whatever they want to do with the land. In this case, both the Muslim League and the Bindi group want to develop that for bigger commercial or housing and accommodation investments. So they must be prepared to do that, and government must be prepared to accommodate them.
So your government is leading a very important exercise this year, a major truth and reconciliation process which has now been passed by Parliament. What do you plan to achieve from this? Some have been saying it will be opening up old wounds. Some are saying this is the path to true reconciliation and moving forward. Your thoughts from this process?
I moved this motion, or I tried to move this motion when I was leader of the opposition, and was knocked out in business in the business committee. I said at the time when I was presenting this possible motion was that we would like to know what happened pre-87 and get the people of Fiji to understand what can get us to the pre-14 May situation. Those are the potholes we need to avoid, the pitfalls we need to avoid, and the problems we need to avoid before we get to them. And it was knocked out. And I had a dream. I had a dream when I was in Narayan that about this motion. I came and moved it, and unfortunately it was shut down at business committee. 2 weeks later, there was a shooting in the mosque in Christchurch. Why did that happen? Why did people not know it could happen in New Zealand? They didn't know because they were not aware of what sort of landscape, political, ethnic, whatever situation, religious, can lead to such a situation where a man just picks up a gun and shoots anybody, whether they met him before or not, and do that. And the only way to avoid that is to make sure we know the path that's ahead of us. We know where the pitfalls are, because that happened there, and people are not prepared for it. How do we make sure that we precondition our people for those situations, and when we get there, we know how to handle it, and it doesn't have to be violent.
As far as in terms of race relations, what are your thoughts? Because from 1987, you know, a lot of people also left, and then you continue to be highlighted as the father of the coups in Fiji. That also some people still say race relations are not perfect because of the Itoke maybe being favored more. You highlighted that in the first segment on trying to ensure that others' rights are not impeded upon when things are happening. What are your thoughts as the leader of the country?
My thoughts on that one are very, very simple. We know that there are certain groups, not only the indigenous people, need to be accommodated for in our movement forward. And that's part of this truth and reconciliation thing. Trying to find out what else can give the Tauke the feeling of panic. We can't allow this. We are going to be swamped. We are going to be taken out of our Matagali land and all that. We need to create the environment and the atmosphere and the thinking, understanding that it will not happen. You will never be pushed out of your Matangali land, and you cannot be removed from where you're leasing. It will be honored, and those who are now in informal settlement must accept that time will come when they will have to move, and when they have to move, they cannot ask, we are Christian, we have a church here. No, that church is built on land that does not belong to the Christian church or your church. Move, because that is the law. So when we get there, people must know that we must be prepared to adapt and adopt.
You have indicated that you now, with freeing up with portfolios as Prime Minister, you will be looking at all issues more closely. What do we expect this year and next year?
Just more of these cooperation with the ministers in their various portfolios, and also going down with them to their divisional commissioners and even provincial administrators, and working through the various departmental and smaller segments of society in tackling what needs to be done. And they will have to do it through their normal ministries.
You have indicated you will be putting your hand up again for the 2026 general elections, and to lead after the 2026 elections. Why should people elect you in 2026?
No reason. I'm just one of those that will be putting their hands up. I claim no special condition or no special consideration or favor. It's for the people themselves to decide. I will be just a hand in the air, and people will have to see whose hand is that and what has that person done.
So you've got a lot of work to do in the next 2 years.
No. To continue the work I'm doing. I don't have to re-engineer the way I'm going or re-energize myself. Just making sure that I do what I have always done better. Just better.
Honorable Prime Minister, thank you very much for your time, for opening up and talking to us about a number of issues, about your life, about your family, about your political career, about you, what's your thoughts as a leader, also the issues where you have learned from many and also imparted the knowledge to many. What are your parting words to those who are watching here and abroad?
Education never ends. Meetings never end. And learning never ends. And I just carry this with me all the time. The trust simply says, Lord, grant me the serenity Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
To all watching here and abroad, we are signing off here from the official residence of the Honorable Prime Minister, and as earlier agreed, we hope to have more interviews as such in relation to the state of our nation and in relation to the thoughts of the Prime Minister. Until next week, have a great evening.